Hi, I'm Joe. I'm a DJ and I've been playing around with LEDs for a few years and just became aware of addressable LEDs and decided that I wanted to see what I could come up with. And what I have here in front of the camera right now is a box I've built. And what this box does is it gives me 12 potentiometers for different parameters, for different code that I've put together in a program. A lot of it I got off of the Fast LED site and a few other places I found the code and just installed it. Inside this box is a Mega 2560 which I obviously need because of all these different controls. And what happens is these 12 pods, as I mentioned, control parameters. Over here we have a scene switch. There are two scenes, a B and an A scene, and I can flip back and forth between them by just doing that. And as you can see on the left hand side of the box, you can see a little bit of the strips that are lighting up, but as it's going back and forth between the scenes. So I can basically set up two different scenes and be able to flip back and forth between the settings very quickly. Down here we have other switches, which are a rate switch to be able to rate whatever value we have on the box to one of 60 preset locations that are in the Mega. Next to that is a printout. So what I can do is, if I find a pattern I really like, I can code it right into the Arduino code by getting it to print out a line that's, I can just copy and paste it right into the code, and it's got all the correct settings for all the potentiometers to create the effect I want to have. The center switch here is a read-write switch, and what that basically does is it puts you in two modes. When we're in the top mode, that gives us the ability to send the parameters over here right to the LED strips, which are over there, and I'll show you in a minute what they look like. And when it's in the down position, it activates both of these scenes, so you can use it as a scene controller, like a lighting board. Then over here we have the switch, which jumps back and forth between the scenes. And then we also have a blackout switch, which allows you to, as long as you're holding the button down, it blacks out whatever the preset is. I'm going to try to move this over a little bit and just let you see a piece of the strips. Whoops, sorry about that. And the box controlling it at the same time. Now these are APA104 strips, and you can't see the whole strip. It's about 6 foot, a little under 6 feet long, and there's 112 LEDs on each one of the strips. So what I can do is, as I mentioned before, if I press down on, we're in the B scene now, so what I'll do is I'll flip over to the A scene, and you see that it's a blank, there's nothing in there. But now by pressing the up and down, I can move through different presets that I have in here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn the light off so you can see the strips a little bit better. And there you can see the strips working. So now I can just move through the strips and be able to go to one of 60 presets. And what I can do is, by switching over to the B side, I can go and load something different in there. Like for instance, there's the rainbows. Okay, so now I can flip between the rainbows and the I believe this is the forest palette. We can change to another palette here. Okay, this is the I believe it's the lava palette. So now we can switch between the rainbows and the lava. Okay, and right now we're in the scene mode with the flip switch down. If I flip the switch up, what it will do is now give me control. On the first pod is something that allows me to choose which of the palettes I want to play with. Right now we're also kind of dim, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the brightness up so we can actually see the colors. Okay, and again, if I go here I can switch to any of the different palettes that I have in here. Alright, and then that's brightness control, so we can get fairly bright. These are really, really bright strips. I like them a lot. Or we can bring them back down to a lot dimmer. We can control the speed and direction, so we can now slow them down, okay, or go in the opposite direction. Okay. Now if I go to some of the other panels, like if I go into, this is the two-sign, I believe it's Andrew two-line, and if I pronounce your name wrong, I'm really sorry about it, but what I can do is control parameters here. So for instance, I can again brighten it up, okay, and I can change it to smaller. Actually, this is the ripple. Let me move forward just a little bit. Whoops. Still the ripple. Wow, I've got the sparkles in here too, so in any case, if we go in here to the ripples, we can now change a lot of the parameters. So now we want to switch to smaller bars. So we just twiddle the knobs a little bit, and eventually we'll get to the smaller little bars, and then we've got obviously color control on those, so we can switch to blue and a pink, or blue, yellow, and then we can also make the, there we go, and again we can make the strips a lot smaller. Okay, to where we're down to almost single pixels. Okay, and then of course control the speed and direction. So right now we can change it so that the purples are going up. So make them a little wider so we can see them better, and make the blues a little bit wider so we can see them a little bit better. Okay, and tweak them a little bit more. Whoops, too far. Okay, and again, all kinds of control here. You can change the angle of the U's to each other, so they will come up in all kinds of different colors. And as I said, there's just a ton of controls that you can have just in this one preset. Now, there's also other presets in here. What we can do is go back, for instance, to, this is the bouncer. Now, the bouncer only has a setting for the gravity. But if we go to the flames, whoops, there's the flames. Right now you can barely see them, they're at the bottom, but I can change them by going here and change the cooling factor and the spark factor, so we get more sparks, which means that we'll get more fire. And as we turn the cooling down, we'll get longer flames. And I added a little effect to the end of it. I don't know if you can see it, but there at one point in time you get sparks in addition to the fire. See if I can see them. Whoops. They're right at the very top. Turn this down and bring this up a little bit. We should start seeing sparks. There they are. And turn cooling down so that way we get shorter flames, and there's our sparks. If you can see them near the top, there's a very, very little tiny sparks. There, you should be able to see them there. Okay, so we have all kinds of different patterns in here. And then I finally have U's out here. And again, same sort of control. We can control speed, direction, and pick up a whole bunch of different preset U patterns that are in here. I like this one a lot. But anyway, that's the box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put us back into the regular mode and go back to a blank, turn the light on, and show you the actual strips themselves. Strips, as I mentioned, are 104s. Okay, and I got the black circuit board, and these things that they're mounted to are quarter round wood that I've painted black to match, and they're real nice because then I can flex them and make them into different shapes. Like I can make it look like a wedding chapel, or an old grass hut, and also I can use them for uplighting. If I'm using fog at a wedding, I can uplight the fog with the clouds, and it looks pretty cool. What I'm going to do now is back the light up here so it's out of the way, and I'm going to turn the light off again, and now you should be able to see the strips, the entire strip. So here we go. Alright. Okay. There's some of the patterns in the strips. Let me see. Yeah, that's a much better view. We're still not seeing the top. It goes up a little bit more. There you can see the top of the strip now. But what I also did was, it's great to be able to do that, but a lot of musicians who'd like to use this stuff are kind of like, well, that's cool, but you know, how am I going to use it when I'm playing on stage? Well, I don't know if you can see it here, but down here is a little MIDI keyboard. Okay, this is a launch key mini, and what I'm going to try to do is get it so you can see both well at the same time. But if I go onto the keyboard and I hit keys, I can change what's going on. Hang on a second, let me flip over. And now, as you can see by pressing the keyboard, at least I think you can see it, I can change what's going on with the strips. I think I have a bad connection. Yes, I do. I have a bad connection here on my keyboard. Well, in any case, it does. There we go. I'm using a program called, there we go. So now you can see by pressing keys on the MIDI keyboard, I can now play the LED strips. I'm going to be releasing the schematics and the actual code that I used in the box. The box is fairly complex putting it together. There's a lot of wiring in there. There's probably 60 feet of wiring in that little box. But as you can see, it all works really well. I've used it a couple of times already, and people have asked me where I bought these, and I said I didn't buy them, I made them. So That's going to be it for now, and it's September 11th, so I figured I'd be a little patriotic here and give us a little red, white, and blue send-off. Have a great day, and see you sometime in the future.